Well, I mean, I'm not advising anyone to buy crypto or bet the farm on, Dogecoin or anything like that.
Okay.
Don't bet the farm on Dogecoin. You might have been thinking, maybe you should, but let me advise you, that would be perhaps unwise.
Okay.
So, Dogecoin is my sort of favorite cryptocurrency because it has the best humor and has dogs.
I did, however, look at the price of it yesterday. It's lower than it was, I think.
It's like a friend of mine has a saying that the most ironic explanation is the most likely. And the most ironic outcome for currency would be that the thing that was made as a joke to make fun of cryptocurrencies, most ironic outcome would become that it becomes the global currency. 20, 30-year time frame, I think things will be transformed beyond belief. You probably won't recognize society in 30 years. I do think we're fairly close. You asked me about artificial general intelligence. I think we're 3 years, maybe 6 years away from it this decade. So arguably we are on the event horizon of the black hole that is artificial superintelligence.
If there's one thing Elon Musk knows, it's money. Having first made his fortune from X.com, which later merged to become PayPal, it's suffice to say Elon knows the ins and outs of how money works and how money moves. Further, Elon is a fan and supporter of cryptocurrency. Following the lead of MicroStrategy founder Michael Saylor, Elon Musk, through Tesla, bought $1.5 billion of Bitcoin to put onto its balance sheet back in 2021. However, in his latest interview with the Wall Street Journal, Elon got asked his latest thoughts and outlook on cryptocurrency. Funnily enough, Elon made no mention of Bitcoin or Ethereum, which he has been a vocal supporter of in the past. Instead, he spoke on what he believes to be the bigger opportunity than Bitcoin and his favorite cryptocurrency, Dogecoin. Although telling investors he wouldn't advise them to buy crypto or to bet the house on Dogecoin, he calls Dogecoin his favorite crypto because of its humor and its incorporation of dogs. With Elon's explanation that the most ironic explanation is the most likely, and with him hinting of incorporating Dogecoin into a payment system on Twitter, there is a good chance that Dogecoin will outperform Bitcoin and other crypto assets if Twitter fully backs it. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video where Elon also breaks down his latest thoughts on the other exponential opportunity that is all the rage right now, artificial intelligence, and why he thinks it will fundamentally change the way humans live over the next decade. Also, only a small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed. If you enjoy finance content, consider subscribing or liking the video. It's free and you can always change your mind.
The development of artificial digital sort of superintelligence is very much a double-edged sword. So it's if you have a genie that can grant you anything, that can also do anything, that necessarily presents a danger. And I would expect the first uses of AI to be certainly the first government uses of AI to be weapons technology. So just having more advanced weapons on the battlefield that can react faster than any human could. That's really what AI will be capable of. I mean, future wars between advanced countries, or at least countries that have significant drone capability, will be very much the drone wars. Well, I think there should be a significant third horse in the race here. We've got OpenAI and Microsoft, Google DeepMind, and probably there should be a third horse in the race. So there'll be more on that soon.
But is it something that will interact with the data of Twitter and the capability of Tesla? Is it something that tries to bring what you've talked about earlier in terms of capability together and become that third player? Is that what you're talking about?
To some degree, I don't want to jump the gun here on announcements, but OpenAI has a relationship with Microsoft that seems to work fairly well. So it's possible that XAI and Twitter and Tesla would have something similar. We're pushing hard for a long time. I met with a number of senior senators and people in Congress and the White House to advocate for AI regulation. starting with an insight committee that is formed of independent parties as well as perhaps participants from the leaders in industry, and that oversight committee gains, or I should say, that insight committee gains insight into what various companies are up to, and to the degree that there's competitive dynamics there, you can obviously you would sequester board members who are perhaps have conflicts. But anyway, you figure out some sort of regulatory board, and they start off gaining insight, and then have proposed rulemaking, and then that will get commented on by industry, and then hopefully we have some sort of oversight rules that improve safety, just as we do with aircraft with the FAA and spacecraft, and cars with NHTSA, and food and drugs with the Food and Drug Administration.
Right. And how would that work in such a global thing as we're talking about, where AI and the relative advance between countries is going to be very, very important? Is that something that is globalizable? Is that?
Well, really, the key question is, will China, cooperate with the West? That remains to be seen. But I would still advocate some degree of oversight. I mean, we have regulatory oversight of aircraft, for example, and yet the U.S. is still very much doing great on the aircraft front. Right. So it makes more aircraft than the rest than any other place. So just because you have FAA regulation doesn't mean that it's necessarily slowed down very much.
Okay. So your view would be that the AI changes today lock in the tech giants, the Microsofts and the Googles of this world. Is there also a scenario where it actually helps to bring in new players and change that dynamic, or is that a much more unlikely outcome?
There are a lot of AI startups. The thing that's becoming tricky is that you really need three things to compete. You need talented people. You need a lot of compute, expensive compute, and you need access to data. So whoever's succeeding on those three will win. So now that the cost of compute has gotten astronomical, so it's now kind of sort of minimum ante, I would say, minimum would be $250 million of server hardware. Minimum. That's just to relevant in any way.
So the startups are more likely to piggyback off what the others are doing rather than compete directly themselves, is what you're saying.
Yeah, to train a big.
Are you going to take a SpaceX trip yourself?
To train a model of probably GPT-5 size, I wouldn't be surprised if they use at least 30,000, maybe 50,000 H100s, which are the latest GPUs. Is not quite the right word, but the latest technology from NVIDIA. And then you need to run inference as well. So it's a lot of the GPUs are at this point considerably harder to get than drugs. Actually, that's really not a high bar in San Francisco. And services, I think AI will be ushering an age of abundance. Assuming that we're in a benign AI scenario, I think the AI will be able to make goods and services very inexpensively. And so in anything that is a product or a service where there's not artificial scarcity created, such as I want to live exactly in this neighborhood of houses. It's okay, well, there's only 100 houses there, so that would still have scarcity. Or a unique artwork would have scarcity. But anything that does not have scarcity that we deliberately designed to be scarce will be plentiful for everyone in a benign scenario.
And in the unbenign scenario?
Well, there's a wide range of.
But what's the thing that
unbeknownst-
you're most worried about? When you look at, when you've been talking for years about the need for regulation, what is the scenario that really keeps you up at night?
Well, I don't think the AI is going to try to destroy all humanity, but it might put us under strict controls. I mean, and there's no non-zero chance of it going Terminator. It's not 0%, but it's. I think it's a small likelihood of annihilating humanity, but it's not zero. We wanted that probability to be zero, as close to zero as possible. And then, like I said, the of AI assuming control for the safety of all the humans and taking over all the computing systems and weapon systems of Earth, and effectively being like some sort of Uber nanny.
But isn't another scenario that...
If you say the AI, like, well, like let's say you're a Miss World contestant, hypothetically.
It's unlikely, let's face it. But,
and you say, what do you want? And it's I want world peace. It's like, okay, well, one way to achieve world peace is to take all the weapons away from the humans, so they can no longer use them. And to punish any humans that engage in, extraterritorial activity.
But isn't the more likely nasty outcome that rather than AI taking over and being the ultimate nanny that keeps us all doing stuff that is super safe and it wants us to, that actually somebody nefariously harnesses that power to achieve societal control, stroke, military superiority, and that actually some country around the world decides to use it in a different way?
Yes, that's what I mean by like AI uses as a weapon.
Right.
And the pen is mightier than the sword. So one of the first places we have to be careful of AI being used is in social media to manipulate public opinion. So the reason that Twitter is going to a primarily subscriber-based system is because it is dramatically harder to create. It's like, call it 10,000 times harder to create an account that has a verified phone number from a credible carrier, that has a credit card, and that pays a small amount of money per month, and have those credit cards and phone numbers be highly distributed, not clustered, is incredibly difficult. So whereas in the past, someone could create a million fake accounts for a penny apiece, and then manipulate, have something appear to be very, very much liked by the public when in fact it is not, or promoted and retweeted when in fact it is not, this popularity is not real, and essentially game the system. So the bias towards a subscription-based verification, I think, is very powerful, and that really you won't be able to trust any social media company that does not do this, because it will simply be overrun with bots to such an extreme degree.
So if we take it back to where we started, if you look at the election that's coming up, how big a role will this big shift in AI capability over the last few months, which will obviously continue through the next year, how big an impact is this going to play, do you think, in the messaging and the way that people get told the different pitches of the candidates?
I think that's something we need to be on the lookout for in a big way, is to make sure that we're minimizing the impact of AI manipulation. We're certainly very much taking that seriously at X Twitter, X/Twitter, and I think we're putting in place all of the protections to minimize and certainly detect when we see large-scale manipulation of the system. Especially if you go further out into the future, I mean, everything will be automatic. I mean, there'll be household robots that you can fully talk to as though they're people that can help you around the house or be a companion or whatever the case may be. There will be humanoid robots throughout, factories, and cars will also be all automatic. And anything where intelligence can be applied, even modest intelligence, will be automated. Say like so if you say like 10, 20 years from now.
And will we be connected to that technology through a Neuralink type device? I
Maybe.
mean, is that where this, in your view, obviously, is that where this heads?
Well, a high bandwidth interface from the cortex to the so your sort of computing or AI tertiary layer, which already exists. It's just that we don't have a high bandwidth connection. We've got our limbic system, which is our sort of foundational element. That's sort of our instincts and desires and whatnot. Then our cortex on top of that, which is our thinking part of our brain. And then we've got a tertiary digital layer, which is currently in the form of our phones and computers and laptops and whatnot, and all the applications. And the constraint on better, a better merging or the constraint on having human interests and machine interests be aligned is the bandwidth, especially the output. So if you say, like, at what speed can you output to a computer? It's using voice or your fingers, which move very slowly. So you're talking about maybe 10 bits per second or some fairly small data rate. So with the Neuralink, you can increase that by a million, probably.
So everything just speeds up.
Speeds up, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this is obviously in a relatively benign scenario, because there's a question of not just, let's say it's a benign scenario. How do we even appreciate or understand what the computer's doing?
Right.
How do we go along for the ride? And if we have a brain-machine interface that's, I don't know, a million times faster, then we're more like we'll go along for the ride a lot better. Right. Than if we're interfacing with a phone using two slow-moving meat sticks.
Yeah, if you put it like that.
20, 30-year time frame. I think things will be transformed beyond belief. You probably won't recognize society in 30 years. I do think we're fairly close. You asked me about artificial general intelligence. I think we're perhaps only 3 years, maybe 6 years away from it. This decade. So, in fact, arguably, we are on the event horizon of the black hole that is artificial superintelligence.
So there's Elon Musk on the AI revolution and why he thinks it's going to fundamentally change the way humans live over the next decade. With his work at Twitter, Tesla, and SpaceX, Elon would have to be one of the most informed and knowledgeable people on Earth when it comes to the development and risks of AI, so naturally his warnings and predictions carry a lot of weight. The two main opportunities Elon sees looking out are firstly in artificial intelligence, and then on the crypto front is Dogecoin. If you're a believer in Elon and think that Twitter is likely to back Dogecoin and incorporate it into its platform, it's probably a good opportunity. One thing that Dogecoin does have that Bitcoin and Ethereum do not is the power of its cult-like following and its meme status that can make it go viral at the drop of a hat. Over the last month, we saw the power of meme coins with the new coin Pepe rocketing to over $1 billion in just 2 weeks. If we get another meme coin run in the next bull run, it's likely Dogecoin will do multiples again. But what do you guys think? Do you think AI is as dangerous as Musk makes it out to be? Do you think he has abandoned Bitcoin? Let me know in the comments. Anyway guys, hope you all enjoyed today's video and that provided you with some value. I'll see you all in the next one, and as always, all the best.